Hello? Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Got the thumbs up. Lovely to see you all. So let's get started. Right, so this week we are still focused on the Rosenhan paper and assessment 1. So this is continuing with that focus on assessment 1. So the intention of today is to help you with assessment 1, not to damage your prospects of success, but to increase your prospects of success on the Rosenhan paper. So this time we're focusing on the middle section of the marking rubric. You won't be able to read it from my little screen, point in the right direction, but that middle bit in the marking rubric. It's all about the social self. And what we're doing is looking at that relate aspect of the marking rubric to make the connection between the concept of the social self and the concept of self that was implicitly adopted by psychology at the time Rosenhan was writing, and which still is. But the paper really points to this concept and problematizes this concept of self that's operating in psychology. Now, the trick is, when you are coming to that point in the assessment, in assessment 1, where you're connecting the Rosenhan paper to the concept of social self, don't write, Rosenhan said that the concept of social self was blah, 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 blah. If you read the paper, you'll notice that Rosenhan doesn't actually refer to the concept of self at all. The only time you can see self, the word self, appear is in words like himself, itself, self-fulfilling prophecy, I think he mentions, but self appears, but he doesn't actually talk about the concept of self, and he doesn't make any connection, explicit connection, to the concept of the social self. So what we're after is you making the connection, you drawing an inference from his work, if that makes sense. Oh, forgot to tell you, I'm recording this bit. You're not getting recorded on screen. I'm just recording my screen. But if you speak, you'll be on the recording. But I'll turn the recording off just at the point where we're going into our breakout rooms, so you can have your private space, so you don't have to worry about being watched. So that's the thing to do. That's the task to do for assessment 1. Make that connection. Rosenhan doesn't write about the connection, but you have to draw an inference from what he's talking about and what he did to this concept of social self. Okay, so let's begin with I know this is getting boring, but I do have to put the rules up. Oh, Blackboard up first. Oh, none of my buttons are. I've just I figured out how to do this by now, wouldn't you? There we go. So the rules: cameras on unless you got really bad internet connection, or if something still is disturbing happening in the background. And if it is still happening in the background, it's 3 weeks now, so yeah, you might want to sort that out. If this time of the morning something disturbing is happening in the background. So cameras on, because that just helps with engagement. And your role is to talk, listen, and be engaged with each other in the small breakout rooms. My role is facilitate, listen, and I'm going to try not to talk because I talk a lot in my videos, but this is your time to talk. So I just facilitate, help you if you're stuck, listen to your conversations, and keep us to time. So we're going to finish about 10 to 11, because Lisa, some of you are taking methods too, and Lisa's running her session at 11 Queensland time. So just to give you a little bit of a break. And if we run over, just drop out. Give yourself a break before the next session. You know, have a cup of tea and such like. So those are the rules. And if I post those up into chat, there we go. Oh, just send someone messaging. Oh, that's fine. Alana and Coral. Yeah, it's cool. You'll be in a breakout room with some other people, but you'll be able to manage it. There'll just be two of you on screen. So just reading off in chat. Alana and Coral are buddying up today on the same laptop. That's great. So the rules are there in chat. And here comes the agenda. And I'll just post that up in chat too. Okay. So we've got 4 questions. See how you get on in your groups, about how you get on with these questions. So the first question is just so you can share your understanding what this concept of self is and the concept of the social self, just to test out your knowledge on that one. Don't worry if you don't know. Hopefully someone in your group knows. And if none of your group knows, by the time I get to your group, you can ask me, what the hell is this thing? But have a discussion just to check out your own understandings of this thing. And then question 2, question is, what does the Rosenhan paper implicitly say about the concept of the social self? Implicit, not explicit. How is the Rosenhan paper related to this concept of the social self? What does it say about it? And the alternative, which is the individualistic notion of self. And question 3, how might the self be understood differently in cultures other than Anglo, US, Australian, brackets, white settler culture? That's a mouthful, and it sounds like I'm part of the woke brigade, but I have to be that specific because we have many cultures in Australia. Anything other than the white settler culture, which is the US, UK combined culture, which Australia is inherited and did its stuff too. That's the mainstream. So First Nations people have a very different set of cultural beliefs, but that's not mainstream. So it's the white settler, the Western, Anglo-European, the stuff the mother country gave you, all right? So talk about that. How is self understood differently in different cultures compared to ours? And who benefits from how the self is understood in mainstream Australian culture, that white settler culture? Now, what's going on here for these questions are they're linking to the marking rubric. So for assessment 1, the link that's been made for questions 1 and 2 is that middle section, the relate. So the discussion should help you today in regard to that. And it's also bringing in assessment 2, which is the diary. So it's not obvious that I've just changed rubrics here, but in the diary, it will link in to the interrogate and the analyze sections. Can you see how that works? So flesh that out a bit. So the interrogate, when you're taking a sophisticated interrogation of the social cultural content of a key piece of mainstream psychological theory or practice. So here the mainstream bit of theory is that concept of self that psychology operates with. Very individualistic, not very social. And the analyze links into question 4 today, which is who benefits from us thinking about the self in an individual way. Okay, so that kind of does it before I put us into our breakout rooms. Have we got any questions about what's happening today? I've literally been on mute before in a tutorial when I came to the... Has anyone got any questions after my 10-minute stuff? And there was no... Everyone were quiet. And then I just checked and I was on mute. I'd literally been chatting away for 10 minutes on mute and everyone was enjoying the peace and quiet. So that might be the case today. In which case you're just waiting to get into the breakout rooms. You've put me on mute, haven't you? I know. I can tell. Okay, no questions. That's cool. So we'll do the usual thing where I spend an excruciating amount of time trying to set these rooms up. Have we got anyone in a campus room? I don't think we have. Have we? Anyone in a campus room? Is everyone on their laptops? We've got 2 people on one laptop. That's cool. Okay, so this is relatively easy, so there's no excuses for me getting this wrong, because this is 3rd week. I should know how to do this by now. So the usual thing, when you go into your breakout room, it's just a random thing. You go into your breakout room and keep a note of the room number, because if your internet drops and you log back into Zoom, you'll go into the main room. And if you find yourself back in the main room, just hang on, message me in chat. I'll get to you and I'll locate you back into the main room, into your breakout room. But you need to tell me what your breakout room is. Otherwise, you just go into you get randomly allocated again. Okie dokie. So I'll stop recording. The recording's just for people who missed this tutorial, because a lot of us can't make this tutorial, so they can run their own tutorial.